Well, good morning and welcome into this edition of the Farzy Show here at the Steven Singer Studios. My name is Marc Farzetta. Corey Seidman is going to join us in just a little bit. We're talking about all things Phillies. That's right, we're going to talk some Phillies baseball. We've had a lot of Sixers basketball to get into. We've had a lot of Eagles to get into. We'll get into that. But we will have a guest today in Corey Seidman to talk some Phillies baseball as well as some other fine topics. But let me just jump off with this today. I am really rooting for Jalen Hurts. Really rooting for Jalen Hurts. Although I don't believe the Eagles are looking at Jalen Hurts right now and going, that's our guy. This is the guy that's going to carry us for the foreseeable future. And in a way, should they be doing that with a guy they've barely seen play at the professional level? However, here's what I know. He's a pretty good college player, that Jalen Hurts guy. I know that I saw some flashes from him last year, making some plays with his legs, most notably, for the Eagles. But here's what I really like about him. He's got the right mentality. And other than coming out in his press conference yesterday and just saying, I know there's been some questions about who's going to be the number one quarterback, who's going to be QB1 for the upcoming season and maybe for the foreseeable future. I know there's been some questions. There's been some speculation. Let me just solve that right now. My name's Jalen Hurts, and I am naming myself the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Other than saying that, which would have, I think, just made all of Philadelphia fall in love with him, you know what he did? He went out there and he did something great. He went out there and he just said, yeah, guess what? I'm not above competition. I'm not going to shy away from that. And look, he said everything he should have said. There is no other way other than maybe a little bit more dramatic way I just ruled out. There's no other way to really handle that would have made us embrace him more. And ever since he said the words yesterday, rent is due every single day, I think all of Philadelphia went, well, at least he's got the mindset. We've seen the athleticism. We've at least seen that. We know we've seen that from him last year. Can he be good enough with the mentality that he has? Mentality, check. Athleticism, check. Now let's see whether or not he can play football over the course of a 17-game schedule. And also in this weird offseason that we're going through yet again. And now also having to digest a new game plan and scheme with Nick Sirianni. I love what I heard from him. Not just about him himself in terms of his mindset and how Nick Sirianni really echoes a lot of the same sentiments as Nick Saban did when he was at Alabama. But he also got into how hungry he is as a quarterback, how hungry he is as an athlete and a competitor, and how hungry he and his teammates are about the upcoming season and what they want to prove to Philadelphia Eagles fans and what they want to prove to the rest of the NFL, and most important, what they want to improve to them, what they want to prove to themselves. So look, it's press conferences. We're not going to be watching games for quite some time. We're going to be watching some practices here and there. To get this kind of look behind the scenes, to have the curtain peeled back for a moment, to just get an idea of how these guys are processing everything. I'm going to get excited about things that I hear coming out of the NovaCare complex. I'm also get excited. I don't know if it's a Nick Sirianni level of excited, but it's a level of excited. It's a level of excitement when Jason Kelce talks about his new head coach. And he was asked yesterday, I believe it was by Tim McManus during the press conference yesterday. He was asked about his first impressions of his new head coach because, Kelce's been here a while. And he's been here for Andy Reid. He's been here for Chip Kelly, obviously Doug Peterson, and now Nick Sirianni. So I believe this is year 11 for Jason Kelce. And the first thing he got into was that attitude that Nick Sirianni has and the attitude he wants in his players and the relationship that he wants to build with his players and he wants his players to build with each other. And I thought this was cool. Jason Kelce was asked about Landon Dickerson, who everybody thinks is here to replace Jason Kelce because he is here to eventually replace Jason Kelce. And when Jason Kelce was asked about meeting Dickerson, he said, well, first off, did you get a chance to meet with him and what's going on there? What's your impressions of him? And Jason Kelce said, yeah, we grabbed lunch together. Like right out of the gate. First off, he said, yeah, well, we really haven't got a chance to talk that much with everything going on here, but we got lunch the other day. Like, that's great. That is a veteran putting his arm around a rookie saying, come along, I got you. One day all this will be yours. Everything the light touches will be your kingdom. And hopefully Landon Dickerson takes that, and he is just as good as a Mufasa, if you will. But Jason Kelce talked about how he's trying to build those relationships with his teammates, including a rookie teammate like Dickerson. So it seems like it's nothing but good vibes right now at the NovaCare complex. Nothing but good vibes thus far. So why not get started out on that note? Why not get started out on that foot? We're going to let you hear from Jalen Hurts in a second. We're going to let you hear from Jason Kelce. But before I jump to that press conference and let you hear all the great things that came out of it from a lot of different Eagles, Brandon Graham being another one, a lot of different Eagles going out there to address the media, I do want to get into the Phillies before we bite off a big piece of that sandwich with Corey Seidman coming up in a minute, or and this will make sense later, or a big spoonful of soup with Corey Seidman. We'll get to that later. But here's what happened yesterday. I wish I understood what the hell was going on in Major League Baseball when it came to reviewable plays and non-reviewable plays. Look, the game didn't come down to the fact that they got an extra run in the 7th inning because a runner was not called out of the base paths when he should have been called out of the base paths. It should not have scored the 3rd run of the game. But here's ultimately how I feel about this. In baseball, I know they're trying to make the game shorter. They're trying to not make the game to take more time, and I was certainly talking about that yesterday. But how do you have some things reviewable and other things not reviewable if you have instant replay? And I understand it to a point, but this is not an example of something that should not be reviewed by League Baseball. I think everybody saw when Andrew McCutchen was called out of the base paths 2 weeks ago that he, in fact, was not out of the base path. I think everybody saw that upon review. I also think that everybody saw Cooper out of the base paths last night while he was running from third to home and scoring the 3rd run of the ball game for the Fish. I think everybody saw that he, in fact, did establish a line, a path, if you will, to home plate, and then diverted from that path in order to elude the tag by Andrew Knapp. I think anybody with a working pair of eyes, or maybe even one working eye, saw that he changed his path to home plate and therefore should have been called out. That should be a reviewable play. And one of the things that made it so easy to understand was the fact that he started out on dirt, ended up on grass. Now, if you haven't rounded the bases in a while, maybe you're like me, you haven't made your way around the base path, around the diamond in quite some time. I'll tell you this. In Major League ballparks, unlike maybe where you might have played, like maybe me playing like a Manny Young Sport and Social, beer league softball, maybe there is grass that just impedes on the base paths in the dirt. But in Major League Baseball, there's none. It's just a straight shot of beautifully landscaped dirt going to home plate. So there's only one way to end up on grass, and that is to divert from the base path and go into an area where you should be called out. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And credit to Joe Girardi, who went out and argued that point yet again, but to no avail. If Major League Baseball is going to have so many different things that are allowed to be reviewed, this should be one of them, because somehow, magically, upon further review that we get to witness, we can all tell whether or not a base runner is in or out of the path they established when they left the previous base. Thank you very much. I rest my case. Now the bats. let me just I said yesterday, and I believe this because I want this to be true. If you're an offense like the Phillies offense, right? I want to believe that you can put up runs like you did against the Blue Jays. I want to believe you can put up runs like you did in Game 1 against the Marlins. I want to believe that all of a sudden you can blink and you have a 7-run inning. I want to believe that you blink and all of a sudden you have a 5-run inning. I want to believe that with this offense, you're never out of it. If you have a healthy Bryce Harper and you have a healthy JT Realmuto and Rhys Hoskins is at least swinging a decent bat, I want to believe that you're always in it. Andrew McCutchen gave me a little bit of those warm and fuzzies yesterday when he belted that home run to left field. Another home run, 5 now in the month for Andrew McCutchen. He's totally turned his season around. I want to believe that offense is right there for the waiting. And wouldn't you know it, runners at the corners, bottom of the 9th inning, Phillies down 2 runs, Andrew Knapp steps to the plate. And Andrew Knapp works a 3-2 count. Another great at bat from Andrew Knapp. Give him that, man. And he swings and hits a long fly ball, deep right center field. Could it be? Could it be? Will it be? No, it won't. A couple of feet, probably from just being a walk-off 3-run home run for Andrew Knapp and the Phillies. Maybe a foot away or so from at least tying the ball game as you had 2 outs with the full count and all that. Runners going on the pitch. You would have had your runner score from first base to at least tie the game. Andrew Knapp probably sitting on second base at that point. Just missing, at the very least, tying that game. And it would have been another thriller. And what was amazing was after that, it was a great shot by the camera crew yesterday, getting Andrew Knapp just looking with disbelief after he came so close to walking that game off for the Phillies. But at least it gave you that sense of, oh my God, they did it again! Another big run, another big inning, a come from behind victory. It at least gave you the feeling of, wow, maybe they can be that offense. If you're going to get Cinderella stories like that from Andrew Knapp time and time again, yeah, why not believe in that? If Nick Maton is going to produce the way he has, not so much last night in his pinch hit appearance, I believe it was. If Nick Maton's going to get you at bats like that, if Andrew McCutchen's turning it on like he is right now, if Odual Herrera is turning it on like he has been over the last 3 weeks of the season, then yeah, this offense can put up some runs. But here's what you can't do. You can't continue to waste outings from guys like Zach Eflin, who's not getting run support. You can't waste innings. You can't waste starts from guys like Vince Velasquez, who has actually been next to lights out since he joined the starting rotation again. You can't waste innings. You can't waste games, starts from these guys when they're actually giving you good quality innings. And I know a lot of people hate the idea of a quality start in baseball. And what is it? 6 innings, 3 runs, whatever. Like, it's a good measurement to at least say that they're keeping you in a ball game, and by that point, your offense should get something going. It's not like you're getting an award for the most quality starts in a season, but at least we're keeping track of how well the pitchers are doing versus how poorly the bats are doing. And when you're not getting run support for Zach Wheeler, Zach Eflin, or Vince Velasquez, there was even a couple of starts. Chase Anderson actually gave you a couple of good innings, like 4 good innings, and you weren't able to get him any run support. That's a little bit more understandable. But more so with Vince Velasquez, Zach Eflin, and Zach Wheeler, you got to be able to get these guys run support and let them settle in faster in these games, and maybe you're going to get a little bit more out of them as starters. And then you know what you're doing? You're not spelling your bullpen anymore either. So it all helps each other in this very individualized team sport of baseball. But bottom line is, hopefully the Phillies bounce back today. Hopefully they step up and get a victory and take 2 or 3 from the Marlins, a team that they have, as we noted yesterday, have had a lot of struggles against over the last couple of years. So we'll get to that a little bit more tomorrow. And like I said, Corey Seidman, NBC Sports Philadelphia, Phillies Talk Podcast, will be joining me coming up in just a couple of minutes to further explain what's going on with the Phillies. And also, we have our own selfish conversation that we'll have briefly. All right, without further ado, this is what we open the show with. And it's really just a, no pun intended, a home run of a press conference. If such thing exists, like if we're going to jump on Nick Sirianni for his first ever press conference, then why can't we praise other people that just did a home run with their press conference? So Jalen Hurts, as you know, has not been named the starter of the Philadelphia Eagles. And so some people might say, well, why not? Who else you got? Well, as of right now, you got Joe Flacco. All right. That's who you got. So what are you going to do with him at this point in terms of that depth chart? The fact of the matter is the Eagles don't have to do anything yet. Now, if the Eagles are, in fact, going to continue to monitor the situation with Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson or even Russell Wilson, if they're going to continue to do that, I get it. And they should. I mean, do your due diligence, right? But until then, if you're Jalen Hurts, you got to be thinking about what we've talked about a lot on this show about Mr. Right versus Mr. Right now. And Jalen Hurts' mentality has to be, I'm Mr. Right for the foreseeable future. I should be the quarterback of this team. But he doesn't go into the press conference acting like he is owed something. He's not coming into this season acting like he is owed something. And that's exactly the mentality you want a first-year starting quarterback to have going into his sophomore season in the NFL, but for the first time as this Eagles starting quarterback. So here is Jalen Hurts yesterday talking about how he's not above that quarterback competition that his head coach Nick Sirianni keeps on talking about.
Everybody got to go to work, So for me, I know rent is due every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So it's work.
I love, no, not going to miss any payments. Is that not the exact mentality you want to have in a quarterback? Like, he's not going to go out and say, I don't know what's taking this guy so long, but he better name me the starting quarterback sooner. I'm going to be pissed off. Like, what is he going to say? Hey, do you really want Joe Flacco to start for you? Really? That's a guy? Yeah, he's probably $1 million. I don't think he could have handled this press conference better. And then he starts talking about the motivation he has. And he gets asked by, I think it was Jeff Skversky of 6ABC. He gets asked about how hungry Jalen Reagor says he is, how hungry Devontae Smith says he is. And the questioning was more along the lines of, what do you do when you have two receivers like that are hungry for the football and hungry to win? Here's how Jalen Hurts handled that line of questioning.
Yeah, I think we're all hungry. We're all hungry. I know Reagor is. I know Smitty is. I know that whole entire receiving core is. G Ward, the whole line. I think everybody's hungry. You kind of trigger something in me. Everybody's hungry because we didn't finish what we didn't do what we wanted to do last year. It didn't go the way we wanted it to. Ultimately, in the end, we didn't have the outcome we wanted. So we're very hungry, and we don't plan on missing meals.
All right, so they're not going to miss rent. They're not going to miss meals. They're going to be living good at the NovaCare Complex, and let's hope that we're enjoying them living good in Philadelphia. That's exactly the mentality you want the quarterback to have. But what I really take away from the way he answered that question was that he was triggered by a reporter asking a question. How is he going to be triggered when there's, when there's Montez Sweat running him down, trying to take him out? Right? Is he going to be triggered in moments like that? Is he going to be triggered when he sees a teammate that might be, lollygagging a little bit? Like, if he's going to get triggered by a question like that, and that's going to fuel his competitive nature, what's going to happen when he actually gets onto the football field? That's what I look forward to seeing from Jalen Hurts as this season happens. And I'm really pulling for this guy. I'm really hoping that the Eagles are not all about trading 3 first-round draft picks to bring in, most notably, Deshaun Watson. Aaron Rodgers, we can have a conversation. Deshaun Watson, not so much. But I hope that if it's not Rodgers, I hope that it is Jalen Hurts. And I'm hoping this is the guy that is the starting quarterback, not just for this year, because no one wants to believe you have a quarterback for just 1 year. I hope he's the quarterback for the next decade in Philadelphia. I hope he with that mentality, how do you not root for a guy like that? So Jalen Hurts, hopefully you're the guy that makes things happen here in Philly. Finally, one last cut I want you guys to hear from a fan favorite, and that guy's name is Jason Kelce. You know him, you love him. Like I said, Andy Reid, the Chip Kelly fella, the Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. 4 head coaches Jason Kelce has now had as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And he got asked yesterday about the about his first impressions with Nick Sirianni and the way he runs things here in Philadelphia after Doug Peterson was dismissed after last year.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think everybody's seen it whenever he addresses the media, but he's got energy, man. Every single day, it is not an act of any sort. That's kind of who he is, and he's really excited, to be a head coach, and that's very evident. He's really excited to, have a staff here, to be working with the team. It's even in the virtual meetings that was evident, and he's big on being connected. He's big on building a culture where people are not just playing football together, but really forming a bond and being connected outside of football as well.
You gotta love that. That's exactly what a head coach should be doing. It is interesting. I don't know what to read out of Jason Kelce saying that he's very excited. He's got a lot of energy, because usually those are things that they're not the biggest compliments in the world. But when it came to culture, that's where he kind of caught my attention. And that question and answer came after Jason Kelce was asked about Landon Dickerson and whether or not he had got a chance to talk to him, gotten a chance to get to know him a little bit and have a conversation, all that stuff. And Jason Kelce said, yeah, we went to lunch. And look, I'm sure Jason Kelce's doing that anyway if Doug Peterson's still here, if Chip Kelly, if any other the other coaches are still here. But it's just good to hear him talk about the culture that Nick Sirianni wants, especially when it pertains to players having a relationship with one another. And you hear that also Jason Kelce is a walking, talking example of that. So that's great. And we talk about it a lot when it comes to the quarterback position. If you're Aaron Rodgers, are you going to nurse along Jordan Love? Well, that's not always the case. But Jason Kelce taking a guy like Dickerson, putting him under his wing already. That sounds like music to my ears, and hopefully we'll be in good hands, as will whoever the starting quarterback is for the foreseeable future for the Eagles with that guy on the offensive line. Another thing Jason Kelce got into yesterday was Jordan Mailata. And Jordan Mailata's progression over his, almost 4 years now as a professional football player after never being a football player, just being a rugby player, and just talked about a guy like that coming along. It was really worth listening to both those press conferences. If you get a chance to do that later today, make sure you do that. All right, coming up in a minute, we're going to talk to Corey Seidman, NBC Sports Philadelphia. Also, during our Morning Rush segment, 76ers schedule got released. But who are they playing? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Dates and times, for the most part, have been released. We'll get to that a little bit more in our Morning Rush segment. So we will do that. But before we move on and talk to our guest on the Zatos Investments guest line, our friend Corey Seidman, I do want to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. I always send people to Steven Singer. I send my audience there. I send my friends there. I send my family there. Random people on the street, I'll just tell them, hey, go to Steven Singer. He's just that great because every day you got the perfect price. When you walk into Steven Singer Jewelers at the other corner of 8th and Walnut, you know you're going to get taken care of with beautiful jewelry, great customer service, awesome real jewelry experts that will walk you through everything. And every single time you don't have to worry about negotiating. Everything's already set at the perfect price. You don't have to try to talk them down from anything, not even a little bit. No. You walk in, all you got to be concerned with is what you want to buy, how you want it to look, what kind of diamond you want to buy, what kind of jewelry you want to buy. You don't have to worry about negotiating skills, so that pressure doesn't exist at Steven Singer Jewelers. Here's what other jewelers do. They mark up their inventory just to make you feel like you're getting a deal when you try to negotiate a little bit. Well, forget about that. You don't got to worry about if the person next to you is paying more than you. You don't have to worry about that, or less than you. You don't have to worry about that. Every single day, the perfect price at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Steven Singer Jewelers, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Every personal piece of jewelry, every big decision I've ever had to make when it comes to nice jewelry is always with Steven Singer at Steven Singer Jewelers. There's no promo code. There's no sale. It's 365 days of the perfect price. So you know you're getting taken care of every single day. Go to I Hate Steven Singer Jewelers. That's IHateStevenSinger.com, the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Every day, the perfect price. One place, one price. IHateStevenSinger.com. All right, let's talk to, from NBC Sports Philadelphia, my old friend, my old stomping grounds over there. Let's check in with our good friend Corey Seidman of NBC Sports Philadelphia and the Phillies Talk podcast. And joining us now on the Zatos Investments guest line, my old friend from NBC Sports Philadelphia, writer extraordinaire covering all things, but most notably the Philadelphia Phillies. You can also check out his podcast, Phillies Talk Podcast with Jim Salisbury, another fine writer. Welcome to the show here. Corey Seidman joins us here. What's going on there, Corey?
Hey, Farzy, man, it's been such a long time since you and I got to look face to face, talk. I mean, it's been a long time, man, but this is I'm great. I'm really glad to join you. Talk a little baseball, maybe talk a little soup, talk a little comedy. You don't know. You never know which direction we're going to go.
You know, we had basically our own show when we sat next to each other in the content room, as it became known, over at NBC. And it was just like, hey, whatever we felt like that day. We could talk about soups, late night TV, baseball, Whatever.
McDonald, you know?
Norm Macdonald. The whole gambit. And yeah, I got a question I want to cap this off for the interview. Special question just for you, Corey Seidman. We'll end the interview with. So that's what we call in the old radio business there. We call that a teaser. So I have that waiting in the barrel for you, my friend. But let's start off with those Philadelphia Phillies. And Andrew Knapp just has been a phenomenal backup catcher. Last year, this year, he's just been doing a great job. J.G. Muto, of course, on the mend right now. And Andrew Knapp just misses at least maybe tying the game up, if not walking it off with a chance at a 3-run home run last night. He just missed that one, Corey.
Yeah, and he has had, some really clutch at-bats this season. Really, he's had clutch at-bats dating back to September of 2019. I don't know what the number is right now, but I looked it up late last week, and he had a .353 on-base percentage dating back to September of 19 when I looked last week, and that's pretty good out of your backup catcher. The things you want out of your backup catcher, you want quality defense, which he provides. He knows all these pitchers better than anybody in the organization probably because he caught most of them coming up in the minors. And yeah, he's had a lot of clutch at bats. That swing that he had off Yimi Garcia that went to the wall in right center, that ball just kept carrying. And Knapp, it was a pretty cool shot. The camera followed him and he was looking up and he started to think maybe I got this and fell just short. The Phillies fell just short pretty much all night in this game. Had a lot of opportunities to capitalize, to tie this game up or go ahead, but 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. And, that's kind of been a theme for most of the season. For most teams has been a lack of offense in big spots. It's crazy to me that the league average batting average is .236. So even when we think wow, things are so bad with the Phillies offense, they're still a league average offense. In fact, they're better than league average in some ways. I'm not saying that to excuse these bad performances, but more so to kind of just highlight that this is a different offensive atmosphere than we've seen in 50, 60 years, maybe dating back to the Bob Gibson days.
Yeah, and they want to move the mound back to help out the hitters, obviously. Yeah, it's like a no-hitter every night now. Quite literally the last 2 nights, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, pitching seems to be ahead of the hitters more so than what we're used to, at least. Corey, I do want to ask you about this while we're talking about the defensive capabilities of Andrew Knapp. There was an interesting play that happened in the 7th inning. We all remember Andrew McCutchen was called out when he was out of the base paths, allegedly, a couple of weeks ago. But then tonight it was Cooper from the Marlins running home. He looked like he was out of the base paths to me. He ended up scoring to make it, instead of a 2-1 game, a 3-1 game. He looked out of the base paths. What do you make of that? And also, what do you make of the rule that you can't review it?
Yeah, I don't think anybody understands this rule. They don't understand why it was called a certain way with Andrew McCutchen a few weeks ago, and then why it was called almost polarly opposite tonight, given more leeway for the Marlins. It also doesn't make a ton of sense to me why that isn't reviewable. I guess the reason that MLB doesn't want to review that is because there's too much that can be left up to judgment, or it's not concrete one way or the other. Perhaps how can you really measure inches on a broadcast? But it's kind of silly. And after the game tonight, Joe Girardi kind of threw his hands up in the air. What are you going to do? Zach Eflin was asked, do you think this is something that should be reviewable? And he said, well, he didn't like the call. It's not something that he's given enough thought to give a concrete answer one way or the other. But it's just, as we get more and more replay in these games, whenever there's a situation like this where you have a way to kind of conclusively be able to tell, was it right, was it wrong, and you can't review it, it frustrates people. And I think that the reason for that is because, the common sports fan, really, even most people who watch this team on a daily basis don't know off the top of their head what is reviewable and what's not until it presents itself in a game.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. I could understand almost a play like McCutchen, but on a play like tonight, when there's clearly he goes from the base path to running on the grass to avoid the tag, I think that's where a review could certainly help. Mm-hmm. To focus on some other things, we're just revolving around the Phillies in general. There's been a couple of guys. Andrew McCutchen's one of them. And Odual Herrera, who honestly has shocked me. The last 6 months leading up to his suspension, he was a .220 hitter. So I wasn't expecting him to break out like this as he has over the last couple of weeks. But it seems like Andrew McCutchen, Odual Herrera, and to a point, at least with his batting average, Rhys Hoskins, they've started to turn things around a little bit.
Yeah, well, Andrew McCutchen kind of has a history in his career of heating up in the month of May. He just might be one of those guys who takes him a couple weeks and then once he's seen enough pitches and had enough play appearances, then he rounds into form. But yeah, he's really turned things around in this month of May, hitting .290 on base percentage over 400, slugging over 500, homers, doubles, ribbies, walks, runs, everything, doing it at the top of the lineup. And to me, that's just a perfect example of like if Andrew McCutchen did this in his first 20 games, what he's done in his last 20 games, and he would have gotten out to the like a start where you're looking at the stat sheet and it says 290 with a 400 on base percentage, the perception of Andrew McCutchen these last 2 months would have been totally different. Like if he would have done that in the first 20 games and then what he did in the first 18 in these last couple of weeks, I think just the whole conversation around him would be different. But he's come around. Rhys Hoskins, it's been very weird just to watch him this year because he's been more aggressive. He's not walking. Some of that's because he's been more aggressive and he's been making contact earlier in counts. Some of it's because those 3-2 counts have just been ending in strikeouts as opposed to walks, and a couple here, a couple there changes your walk rate. But personally, and I think there are a lot of people in this city who would say they prefer this version of Rhys Hoskins that they've seen this season because he's been picking up hits to the opposite field and up the middle, and he's not too passive as he was, really during long stretches of, his first 3 seasons in the majors. So I don't know. I'm kind of, what I see out of Rhys Hoskins, I'm pretty encouraged because I think that the power is going to be there. It's always going to be there. Like when we look up at his numbers at the end of the year, if he plays 150 plus games, he's going to be between 25 and like 30 to 32 homers. And if he can hit 260 and do that while providing this offense that he has, I think the Phillies will be pretty satisfied with it. They haven't really had everybody clicking at the same time, though. That's the problem. It's like Harper was hot early. Real Muto was hot early. Nobody else was. Okay. Then McCutchen heats up when Harper starts to go south and Real Muto's hurt and, Harper misses some time. So I think that's what really has to frustrate these Phillies bats is that they know that whenever they can get 1 through 8 on the field all together, that they have the makings of something special. The other guy in that mix is Alec Bohm, who's been pretty disappointing this year. I think that, the expectations were just so high for him coming off of last year. He had 338, but, now you look up, he has like a 260 on base percentage, grounding into a ton of double plays, and he's also striking out way more than he ever did in the minor leagues. There's a lot he needs to figure out, and he has, he'll have time to do it, but it's just been a pretty disappointing first 2 months to follow up to his dynamic rookie season, Bohm.
And I know Didi Gregorius is out right now. We'll get to that in a second, but do you see Nick Maton maybe getting a couple more reps at third base?
Yeah, well, at third base, and I really do think the Phillies are going to give Bohm as much playing time as they need to. I mean, he's part of their future. He's a key part of their future, and they need to see as much defensively as they can at this early portion of his career to know, okay, can he be a long-term third baseman? Because there are still balls that he doesn't get to or plays that he doesn't make. It's a little surprising to me that the defensive metrics actually grade him out positively so far. I would say that at best it's been neutral, probably a little south of that, but that's just probably a small sample size with those metrics. But Nick Maton, man, he has been fun to watch. It's like he's provided what a lot of people thought Scott Kingery would, hitting like 290-ish, playing good defense, the versatility, the speed, hitting the ball to the gaps. I always love when a guy like that makes it to the majors and starts to produce, a guy like that who's not like highly touted, right, who wasn't a top draft pick, who had to earn his way here, who didn't get here because, like the clock was ticking and they needed to promote him. And it's been cool to see. And I think that he's going to continue to get a ton of playing time. I think he started 23 out of 28 games since he was called up a month ago today. He was called up April 19th. Who would have ever thought, like in spring training or the beginning of the season, this guy would be such an integral part of the Phillies? Yeah.
No, I love the guys that are surprises because I don't spend time building up in my head as I'm following them in the minor league system, right, like I did to Scott Kingery. Anyway, Odual Herrera, he's been known throughout his career, really, to have these incredible weeks, months, and then he just loses it. I don't know where it goes, but it goes away from him talent-wise. Are you confident he'll be able to keep up something similar to this pace? I mean, he's just, as Joe Girardi likes to say, he's at about, 360 a clip over his last 3 weeks. So he's just not going to cover off the ball. Are you confident he'll be able to keep up some semblance of this version of Odual Herrera?
No, not really. I mean, I think that honestly, and that's not.
No, neither am I.
Yeah. And I don't think he's going to hit 100, but right, I think that, he's bound for regression, but really honestly, the Phillies got so little out of center field up until Odual got hot 2.5 weeks ago that even if he were to hit 250 with a 315 on base percentage and the occasional home run, that's still so much better than the nothing they were getting. I mean, it was like one hit a week, one hit a series with those guys before, when it was Roman Quinn and Adam Hazley before he left for personal reasons and some Mickey Moniak mixed in there. Odual's the best out of that group. It's not a high talent in 2021 high talent group. I thought at the beginning of the season that the most plate appearances out of center field would come from a player not on the Phillies roster, 40-man roster come opening day. And I still think that there's a chance of that could be a hole that Dave Dombrowski looks to fill at midseason. But this team has a lot of holes. I mean, they need more starting pitching. They need more pitching depth, period, more bullpen help. They definitely need more on the bench. I mean, that's been a big theme these last couple of weeks that I don't know if it's getting enough attention, but the Phillies have played so many games undermanned. They just don't have a full complement of hitters. It reared its head again on Wednesday night when Joe Girardi had to bat 2 left-handed batters off the bench against a lefty and Trevor Rogers, who was just mowing through their order. But just because of injuries and because of roster maneuvering, the Phillies have played a lot of games with like 2 or 3 hitters available off the bench, and that really ties your hands in the National League.
No, it absolutely does. I want to ask you about health. So let's talk about that short bench for a second here. JT Realmuto on the men. Didi Gregorius on the men. We know Scott Kingery, even though he wasn't giving anything, he was a body. 7-day IL with a concussion. What's the latest on Didi? What's the latest on JT Realmuto?
Well, Didi had a lot of swelling in his right elbow. So he fell on that elbow in April, and he missed a couple days. And then it began to swell up again recently. And this time, they didn't want to drain the fluid out of the elbow because if you drain, there's a risk if you drain the fluid too much. So this time they wanted to let the swelling kind of go down on its own. So finally, after a couple days of having Didi on the bench but totally unavailable on the bench, the Phillies put him on the IL. He says that it's unrelated to the Tommy John surgery that he had in October of 2018, which is important because if that's true, then it's, not maybe as serious of an issue as maybe originally expected, because this is the second month of a 2-year, $28 million contract. And this is the captain of your infield. You need him to be mobile. You need him to have a good arm. And, early in the season, his range was pretty limited. He wasn't getting to balls the way he normally did or had in the past. And so I think to make up for it, he was really having to rocket the ball to first base. So it's important that he has a lot of arm strength. And he's also a very important hitter in this lineup because he gives you that left-handed pop in like the 5 spot. So, he allows you to go lefty, righty, lefty with Harper, Hoskins, Didi. They definitely need him. This past offseason, they really pursued Andrelton Simmons for his defense at shortstop. And then the Twins swooped in and signed Simmons, and the Phillies ended up signing Didi. And I think that in a perfect world, the Phillies would have a better defensive shortstop, but this is what they have. The strengths of Didi offensively outweigh the strengths of Simmons offensively. So, they just need to get him healthy and back, and it might not be a really long-term concern here. And then JT has this this issue with JT has this left hand injury from a wild pitch that hit him in like the base of his left hand. I think it's kind of like here for people who are seeing this. Can you see my hand? It's like here, right here,
almost the wrist.
In the bone area. Yeah. So it's affecting him swinging, and I think his quote either Wednesday or Tuesday was that I could come off the bench and swing a bat, but I don't think I'd be too great doing it. And that's why the Phillies haven't pinch hit with him. The Phillies hope to get him in the lineup either Thursday or Friday. It's not 100% that they'll get him in the lineup one of those days, but as of right now, they think they can avoid an IL stint. JT's also just missed a lot of time. He's dealt with all these nicks and bruises since he got to Clearwater. I mean, early in camp, Jose Alvarado threw the pitch in spring training that broke JT's thumb, and then he's just been really banged up the early part of the season. But when he's been on the field, he's been producing offensively and defensively as always.
Just real quick, because last I heard Spencer Howard, and you mentioned in the back end of the rotation, Spencer Howard was getting stretched out in the minors. Is that still the case? They want to bring him up, I hope, sooner rather than later to help out this rotation, or is he going to be down there for a while?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been starting and he's been pitching really well. And Joe Girardi, he wasn't shy about it when he was asked about that earlier Wednesday. He said, his last outing was very exciting. And it's a little bit of a not predicament, but it's like a delicate situation the Phillies have here because Spencer Howard's clearly going to be on an innings count. He's not a guy who has any experience with a full workload or anything close to a full 175 inning workload, nothing like that. So the Phillies want to be careful with him. They have to be careful with him. But what that also means is you don't want to waste too many of those innings or too many of those bullets in the minor leagues. If this guy is someone that's part of your future, yes, but he's also someone that could really help you this year, either as a starter or a reliever. So, I think that he could be maybe one or two more good starts away from being promoted to this team. Right now, 4 and 5 out of the rotation. Vince Velasquez has pitched very well, surprisingly, his last 3 starts. Chase Anderson, though, it's like four innings, 5 innings most on a start basis. It's just not enough. I'm not saying the guy stinks, because he doesn't. He's the first time through an order, he's been pretty good this year up until his last start. But there's just very limited upside there. And if Spencer Howard can come in and give you like 8 to 10 really good starts down the stretch, that could help you make the playoffs or help you win a division potentially.
Last thing on the Phillies before we have some fun here. Joe Girardi, evaluation at this point as the Phillies manager. What are you making of Joe Girardi so far?
It's like a mixed bag. I mean, he's had some, head shaking moves or decisions, like, the thing with the lineup card where that was a bad mistake. Or there's also a game this year where he went out to the mound, not realizing it was the second mound visit of the inning, and they had to pull the pitcher. That didn't affect them in the game, though. You know what I mean? It's just tough to tell, because with a manager, it's like if your guys pick up clutch hits, you look like a genius, because you're like look out west right now. Gabe Kapler has the Giants, I think, at like 11 games over 500, something crazy like that. Is that because he's like the best tactician in baseball in 2021, or is that because his pitchers have done a good job with runners in scoring position, or guys are stranding runners, or inherited runners are being stranded? So it's difficult really until you have like a bigger body of work. I'd say that though it hasn't been like the 180 turnaround I think that some people expected from Kapler. Like I think that some people expected that when Girardi came in, it would be a tighter ship, and just like the quality of play on the field you would snap your fingers, it would change instantly, and like some of the laziness from some players or some of the bad defense or just miscommunications would subside. But this proves that really there's no magic potion. There's not one guy that's going to come in and fix everything. It's like an organization-wide thing. And, I'd say that for a lot of this portion of this season and last season, the Phillies have beaten themselves. They haven't gotten over that part of the game yet where they're giving their opponent extra outs. Once they do, and once they start winning some of these games behind Nola, Wheeler, and Eflin the way they're built to, they're only one game over 500 this season behind those three. But once they start winning some of those games, that's how they can separate themselves from this 500 mark.
Yeah, that and the timely hitting that you started talking about when we started the conversation, and hopefully they get that sooner rather than later. Corey, I was thinking of you the other day, my friend. They had this great story on Boban Marjanovic, Bobby, as we come to know him in Philadelphia, and they're doing a great docu thing on ESPN. And it turns out, I didn't even know this, Boban Marjanovic loves soup.
Does he?
He's always making himself some soup. He's always buying soup. He's always ordering soup. Tobias Harris said if they ever go out, it's always the first thing. Do you have soup? It's like the first thing he asks. And I was like, you know what? My friend Soupy Sides over here, he loves himself some soup. And you blew my mind once when you told me you once ordered 2 soups with dinner on a takeout order. That is incredible.
That's a common thing around here, man. I don't know where
around
you grew up. But no, listen, look, does Boban have gigantism like the thing that Andre the Giant and the Big Show have?
I don't know. I would maybe.
Because I'm just wondering if there's any kind of correlation between those big strong bones and like a healthy supply of soup. You know what I've been doing, man? This is a bad habit.
What?
I developed during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, a lot of restaurants that didn't deliver before started delivering via Uber Eats and Grubhub and all that.
Sure, yeah.
And so this one day I ordered from McCormick and Schmick's, right?
Yeah.
And their New England clam chowder is unbelievable. It's like the best New England clam chowder I've ever had, but it's like expensive. It's like a meal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And I order that thing like twice a week now. Like it's so sad, but man, that's me.
Yeah, you do you. You do you, brother. You do you. I just don't know who has the time for a 2 soup meal. Like this is just like, are you using a shovel? Like that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, you got one on the left, one on the right. I'm in the middle. I got 2 arms,
You're right. I'm sorry. How dare I question your soup efficiency?
You don't want like 2 very similar soups though. You know?
No.
What I mean?
Oh God, no.
Like I remember, I don't know if we're probably not allowed to mention Louis C.K. in public anymore, but when Louis had that show on FX, there was one episode where him and his fat brother were going to do like a bang bang, where they were going to like go to McDonald's and then really quick go to Applebee's and have like 2 huge meals back to back. So, hey, every once in a while I do that with soup.
Hey, treat yourself. Treat yourself every once in a while. All right. Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for. The question that only you can answer, Corey Seidman. Now, this is going to be in honor of some of the past comics. But I wanted to ask you this question. In light of Charles Grodin passing, who was one of my favorite all-time guests ever, I loved him on Letterman. You and I were texting. It's like one of the most epic back and forth with any host was him and Letterman. And I remember Charles Grodin went on after the Madonna interview on Letterman all those years ago. And his whole shtick was, I didn't realize that you changed the way guests were supposed to act. And he started dropping F-bombs like Madonna, started talking about the boom mic, exactly what it looked like, if you know what I'm saying. It was great. It was comic gold. But I have to ask you this. If you have to choose between one of these three, who are you choosing to watch on any late night talk show? Would it be the great Robin Williams? Would it be the great Charles Grodin? Would it be the great Don Rickles? Who would you go with, Corey Seidman? Who would you be watching that night?
Well, I think you know which direction I'm leaning. I'm all Don Rickles all day. I'm not lying to you. I think I've consumed like 200 hours of Don Rickles content over the last 2-3 years.
That's
It was a guy that I loved growing up, like, because my parents was one of their favorite comedians. But as I got older and started to watch those Dean Martin roasts from the 70s, and all those late night sessions with Johnny, then I became, a big like Johnny historian. I started ordering books on Johnny Carson and trying to really go down that rabbit hole. But they just don't make him like Don Rickles anymore, man. He was like, the thing that I think everybody says about him and loved so much about him was that he was so insulting, but in such a like kind-hearted way that you couldn't be mad at him. Equal opportunist. Obviously, none of that stuff could fly nowadays.
Oh yeah, no way.
But hey, different time. If you asked me like Don Rickles versus Rodney Dangerfield versus like Norm, man, I don't know what direction I would go in if that happened. But
that'd be a battle royale for viewership on late night TV. And Norm is, again, one of our favorites, but I just wanted to honor those that have passed in honor of Charles Grodin. But Corey, always great talking to you, man. Seriously, it's always a blast. I know we'll have you on again later in the season. Thank you for the wise insightfulness that you have when it comes to Phillies baseball. The great writing you do with NBC Sports Philadelphia and the podcast you and Jim Salisbury do, Phillies Talk Podcast. It's always worth a listen. Corey Seidman, NBC Sports Philadelphia. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Farzy Show on the Zatos Investments guest line.
My pleasure. Anytime, Marc.
My man. Perfect. Joining us as he does on every Tuesday. And who the hell has time for two soups? Walking around with that kind of time? What would you be doing with your life? That's insane. And he might be a bigger late night talk show host than I am. If I go back and watch a show, like one of these shows, for instance, I do notice. Not that I'm anything like Letterman. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I've watched so much Letterman, I can't help but I've like, what do you call it, subconsciously have stolen some of his mannerisms. I'll tell you right now, the whole mug thing, it's not because I'm parched throughout a show. It's simply because I always thought it looked like a good time on Letterman, especially if you that whole thing. Really enjoy Letterman. But again, my thanks to Corey Seidman. We'll revisit one thing before we move on to sponsorships here. The Rhys Hoskins conversation is an interesting one. Would you rather have Rhys Hoskins, the on-base percentage of whatever, 378, 390, or would you rather have, but a batting average of 250 with 25 to 30 home runs? Or would you rather have Rhys Hoskins, the guy that's trying to drive in runs, not be a run necessarily, but drive in runs, the guy that right now is actually hitting, 260, between 260 and 270, and might get you 30 to 35 home runs? I rather have the more aggressive Rhys Hoskins. I rather have this version of Rhys Hoskins. But here's the thing. Ever since he went on that tear that he had 5 home runs in a week, whatever it was, and he was leading the league in home runs for a very short period, the bat's gone power silent, at least. Somebody's turned down the volume, if you will, on that bat. The average has been there. He's been getting hits. That's great, but there's got to be some happy medium, right? Like, if it's one or the other, I'd rather have this guy right now. But I need a little bit more pop. If you're going to be aggressive, I need to see a little bit more of that power, and I haven't seen that as of late. the guy that we had seen over the last couple of years, especially under the Gabe Kapler regime and all that, that guy, the on-base percentage is great. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter. And I understand there's this big movement about how the batting average doesn't matter. It matters where you're batting in the lineup. If Rhys Hoskins is batting fifth, fourth, and even third, then yeah, I want to see him driving in runs. If he's batting second, then yeah, I would like to see more of a higher on-base percentage. I would love to see that. But if he's batting down in the order, then yeah, swing away, man. Go after it. You got the power to do it. Just need to unleash it every once in a while. So yeah, I'd rather have the more aggressive version of Rhys Hoskins. Put me under more aggressive Ben Simmons, always aggressive Ben Simmons, and to file me under their aggressive Rhys Hoskins. Those guys aggressive, we feel like we're in a much better place. Speaking of being in a better place, how about checking out PHL? How about checking out PHLSportsNation.com? How's that for a segue? Check out our good friends over at Philadelphia Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. So make sure you check them out. How about Hers Snacks? Oh, my goodness gracious. All the sports going on. Last night I was watching a little NBA basketball, right? And what did I have next to me? I had that fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn from Hers. You've had the sweet corn before, right? You've had the fire-roasted sweet corn from Hers. That's delicious. That's savory. They've taken it to the next level by throwing in a little bit of spice. Y'all have that perfect bite of the sweet corn, right? With a little bit of the spice, a little bit of the butter, savory taste of the butter, and the sweetness of the corn. Well, guess what? This is that in every single bite, every handful of this delicious popcorn from Hers. Fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn. The same great flavor of fire-roasted sweet corn, but with a little bit of heat. Nice little spice thrown in there with that savory, buttery, creamy flavor. And again, the sweetness of the corn is just so good. The perfect bite in every bite. Hers fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn, a must-have on the beach this summer, a must-have for barbecues as we're all getting back together. And if you're just stacking on the couch, whoo-hoo, it's a good one. It is a good one. Fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn from Hers. It's the way to kick your snack shelf, your pantry, up to the next level. Check it out. Fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn from Hers. It is delectable. How about our friends at Zatos Investments and ZatosInvestments.com? They're an up-and-coming luxury real estate development company in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to ground-up new construction, townhomes, and condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. Can't beat that. These guys are crushing it right now in the Philadelphia real estate game. To see some of their properties and learn how you could invest with Zatos, check them out at ZatosInvestments.com or hit them up by email, info@ZatosInvestments.com. That's info@ZatosInvestments.com. Another great company. This app is incredible here. That is FanUp. If you're not on FanUp yet, go to the App Store. Download the FanUp app and get in on all the action. Use promo code FanUp and get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. You can rise on their leaderboard, make bets with your friends, issue challenges to your friends. You can take that gentleman's bet maybe you made with some of your friends. Guess what? You throw it on FanUp. It's the days of playing fantasy sports alone are over. You can win great brand prizes. I've told you about the Jordans that somebody won a couple of weeks ago. Louis Vuitton bag. You can win memorabilia, merchandise. Like I said, brand prizes as you fill out your profile on FanUp, and they know what you're going after. So you can have a lot of fun. You can smack talk with your friends on the message board there. It's just a great time. I'm having a lot of fun with my friends on it. That's the FanUp app. Go to the App Store, download the FanUp app right now, and just have yourself some fun. You win the brand prizes, and you could be the real MVP any day, any week, any season with FanUp. May the best fan win. Without further ado, let's jump right now to our social media check-in, brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. See a lot of the comments flying in here, people. A lot of the comments there flying in. Marc, can't find the fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn. I've tried Wawa, Giant, Acme. None of them have it. Where do I get it? I will find out where you get this. All right. I was told you could get it maybe Walmart. I'll check it out for you, but it's new. Might not hit the shelves yet. But when it does, pounce on it. Tell you that much. I will check it out for you. T-Bro S might have an extra pantry. I don't have an extra pantry. One thing I do need in my kitchen, I got to redo my kitchen. That's got to happen sooner rather than later. Because like I have a kid, right? I got soon to be a 2-year-old, and it's just like there's no room for all the food. It's just ridiculous. This kid eats like a monster. I'm proud of that, by the way. T-Bro, I will get you that information. Don't you worry. Dan Schwartz, that's a throwback. My house being haunted. I no longer think it's haunted. It might be. You never know. If one thing was haunted, wouldn't everything be haunted? I mean, think about that. Somebody's got to be. Anyway, rabbit hole. What else do we have here? Mally's checking in saying, good morning. What's up, Mally? Always a pleasure. Laugh my ass off 6 a.m. Mally's world is wild. Kevin, you are right about that. Mally's world is wild. What the? We're talking about Didi Gregorius, Mally, not some Didi you might have met along the line somewhere if you're at a bachelor party. All right, anyway. What else do we have here? We have Jacob checking in. The show Louie was a great show. It's a shame for many reasons that it's not around anymore. Reese Hoskins, never be the guy we thought he would be. Jeff saying that on our message board. Thank you, Jeff, for chiming in. Look, if you expected him to be the 40 home run guy, which is what I did, that ain't happening. Like, I'd love to see that. Maybe one year he turns it on, but yeah, I just don't see that happening even a little, unfortunately. We did have somebody checking in saying that they liked this version of Reese Hoskins more than the other version of Reese Hoskins. That I agree with. I think this is the guy that we're going to have to get used to seeing for quite some time, because at least this is the guy that's not afraid to swing for the fences a little bit more and be more aggressive at the plate, because that's ultimately how we're going to produce, or how the Phillies are going to produce runs. Henry's checking in saying, WTF, I was expecting Corey Simon, not Corey Seidman. I don't know where Corey Simon is. When he went to Indianapolis, I lost him after that. I know he had some health issues going on as well. Why do you guys keep on picking on Sealski? You guys are just ridiculous. April's checking in saying they love swinging to pitches. Yeah, what were they, 1 for 9 last night with runners in scoring position? Yeah, that can't happen. That's what I wanted to get to when I was talking about running out of the base pass. As much as I wanted to just like do a whole show and bitch and moan about that for a second, like, how about hitting with runners in scoring position? How about not just relying on ninth inning rallies or Andrew McCutcheon's one solo home run in yesterday's ball game? You got to produce runs. You got to manufacture runs. You got to drive in runs. That would be helpful as well. That's more what I'm upset about, as opposed to one rule not being reviewable, for instance. Taylor's saying Jalen Hurts dead man walking. You may be right, but after listening to him yesterday, I don't want you to be right. And I don't want to be right that the Eagles aren't sold 100% on Jalen Hurts being the starting quarterback of this team, even going into this year. So let's hope that they work that out in the not-too-distant future as well. Thanks to everybody for checking in. Matt's checking in. You people, I swear. I think it's because I keep acknowledging it. I can't help it. Vince is the guy, is the gentleman that said he agrees that he wants this version of Reese Hoskins. I would agree with you there. John saying, Mark, good to hear you live again. New on the scene. Hey, welcome in, John. Appreciate you checking out the show, man. What else? Nasty Knuckles, what's up, my friends? Rick saying he loves the show. I appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. Good times had by all. Thanks for everyone who checked in here on our social media check-in. Brought to you by the great people of Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Let's jump into our Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motor Cars and SkyMotorCars.com. Morning Rush, 76ers schedule, everybody. Who are they playing? I don't know. But here's most of the dates and times that you can see right there, putting that up on the board for you. Sunday, they get it underway against either the Pacers or the Wizards. That game obviously in Philadelphia. 1 o'clock tip-off followed by a 7 o'clock tip-off. And look at this, a 3-day rest period. A 3-day rest period here. So the Sixers have a week off, and then they get another couple of days off after they hopefully go up 1-0 on the Wizards. That's right, predicting a Wizards matchup in the first round of the playoffs for the 76ers. And then after that, Wednesday, Saturday, another 3 days off, then 2 days off. I mean, they always say there's no back-to-backs in the playoffs, but this is just for gosh darn ridiculous, if you ask me. But I'll take it. I'll take it every step of the way. Also, Warriors-Lakers, didn't talk about this yet. That was an incredible shot by LeBron James with under a minute left to go that put the Lakers up for good. Just incredible. The Warriors fell apart. They looked like they were going to blow the Lakers out in the second half. I wasn't expecting them to. I was expecting the Lakers to at least make a game of it, and they certainly did that. But man, they went the Warriors went cold at the second part of the third quarter. Started turning the ball over at an alarming rate. I believe they turned the basketball over 15 times in the second half. You can't do that against LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I don't care if Anthony Davis is playing with a bad back and a bad calf. I don't care if LeBron James is playing on one ankle and one eye, as he was yesterday, as he got poked in the eye with about 2 minutes left by Draymond Green. You can't let the Lakers do that. You can't give them that many opportunities, and that's what the Warriors did yesterday. Warriors, they will go on to face the Grizzlies. The Lakers move on to be the 7th seed in the Western Conference. What else do we have as far as that goes there? It was bad second half there by the Warriors. Warriors and Grizzlies will tip off. So Warriors, we'll get to this in a second here. The line isn't as crazy as you think it would be. Speaking of which, let's move on now to our Big Bets segment brought to you by DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook. Look at this. Tonight, Wizards-Pacers, Wizards -3. So the Wizards are a 3-point favorite going into tonight. I like that action. I'm going to take the Wizards to beat the Pacers tonight at -3. Warriors -3.5 against the Grizzlies tomorrow night. If you want to get on that action early, you can do that on DraftKings, -3.5 going up against the Grizzlies. So make sure you bet with DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook, as I always do. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed the show today. Thanks to everyone that checked in on social media. Thanks to everybody that listened. Download the podcast a little bit later today. Tomorrow, we look to have a very special feature for you, a very special Farzy in the field. If you haven't followed this, I know I mentioned it yesterday, Save LaSalle Baseball. LaSalle is canceling their baseball program, as well as 8 other sports. Actually, now it's only 7 others only, but 7 other sports. They're saving diving. They're saving swimming. Those programs were able to come up with the funds. Baseball, a little bit more on the expensive side, as is softball. So if you can help out with this cause and check it out, make sure you do so. But we're going to highlight that story. We're going to highlight that story for you tomorrow on the show, so you won't want to miss that. Maybe you will have it uploaded to our YouTube page before then. But thanks for listening. Click subscribe on YouTube as well. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube, all our social media platforms as well. Jim Hyden produced the program. Good hustle by Jim, as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzetta. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning, Friday morning, to kick off the weekend. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy. See you later.